Welcome to this edition of Silver Sneakers Boom Muscle. If you've seen my other videos, you know I've been working on the event of powerlifting for about the last 4 months, making some progress, and I'm about 7 weeks away from participating in the Senior Olympics in the powerlifting event. One advice I've gotten from reading and the internet is that there's very little you can do in the last few weeks before a powerlifting event to increase your strength, but there's plenty of things you can do to reduce it. One of that is overtraining and not allowing sufficient recovery. So I'm switching to a pre-event session workout routine for the next 4 weeks of 3 times a week working on each of the lifts, squat, bench press, and deadlift to improve my form and pushing towards 80% of my sort of predicted maximal lift, but no higher. And then the last 4 weeks, working on very few repetitions, but slightly increasing the weight, but allowing plenty of recovery. Essentially doing each lift just once a week, and hopefully going into the event fully rested, strong, and hope to gain some experience and survive without getting injured. So today I'm planning on doing a fairly standard boom muscle workout involving both resistance exercises and action intervals. But start off with some warm-ups. Always like to do arm circles. I have my palms down, circling forward, getting into the mood to increase my activity. And then we can reverse. Then we can bring our palms up, forward circles. You can progress by bringing your arms up towards horizontal. If you bring them up higher, you want to focus on what your shoulder blades are doing. You want to bring them down on your back and slightly together, which opens up the rotator cuff in the shoulder to prevent injury. And that reverse direction. I want to do some rotation, kidney slaps. You can either keep your gaze forward or allow your head to go side to side. If that makes you dizzy, then just look forward. Do some knee lifts, just a marching in place. Slow, get the muscles in the lower body starting to warm up. And let's try some balance. While you're balanced on one foot, lift the other and do some ankle rolls. You can always have a support or a chair close by to support if you lose balance, or just set the foot down. Balance is critically important for us seniors to help prevent falling and allow you to engage in your routine activities of daily life. Next, I have the support behind me. I'm going to just do some box squats. First, I'm just going to sit down, and then let's stand up. See if you can do this without your hands. You can always modify it by using your hands. Then down. The progression is, instead of fully taking your weight off, is to just tap your bottom on the support. Want to make sure your knees are tracked over your feet, that you don't allow them to buckle in or out, which is hard on the knee. As you stand up, you want to drive the force through your feet into the ground, both centered on the ball and the heel. And think of exploding upward. As far as exertion level for boom muscle, this can get pretty intense, somewhere in the 7, 8, or 9 level of perceived exertion. You want to make sure you have a towel, source of water. Take it at your own pace. Stop the tape whenever you want. Take a breather. And again, we always have modifications and progressions for the exercises. We're about 2 months away from the start of summer, and at least for me, this is a time when I always try and get a little more trim, get my beach body, although I'm about 1,500 miles away from the ocean. Think about pulling out the old Speedo, then I put it back in the drawer and look at my standard swim trunks. But I don't try and get a suntan, being fair skin. I've already had one basal cell skin cancer removed from my ears, probably due to sun exposure. And every year I see a dermatologist who freezes a dozen or more little spots, these dry, rough patches called an actinic keratoses, which have a small chance of turning into a skin cancer. So I'll use sunscreen, wear clothing, cover up, or hat. I don't like to put sunscreen on my forehead because it drips in my eyes, it makes me cry. And you don't like to see an old grown man cry. So wear a hat or some other sort of head covering, and get out in the sun once in a while, but limit your exposure, particularly in the middle of the day. So enough of that. Moving on, I'm going to work on increasing the range of motion in my hips. Again, for the powerlifting squat, you have to get down to where your thighs are at the level of your knees or lower, which for me is quite challenging. So it's worth holding down at the bottom as you come up. Again, blast off the floor, contract your glutes and your quads to get up. To prepare for squatting and to warm up my shoulders, I like to take this wooden bar. It's nice and light, very smooth, but it's good for a lot of activities where you're just working really on range of motion, warming up the muscles and the joints. You can take and push one arm out like this. Give yourself a little bit of resistance against it. Other side. Then spreading my arms way out, put it behind my head, behind my neck, and try and lower it down, bring my elbows in. In the squat, there's 2 positions for the bar. They'll call it a high bar, which is like here, resting on the upper back trapezius muscles, and a low bar, a couple inches lower, resting on the shoulder blades. The advice from some coaches on the internet is for taller people, maybe with longer legs and a shorter trunk, the low bar is probably a preferred position. So as you bend down with that anatomy, you have a tendency to lean forward. That low bar position keeps the weight more over the middle of your feet. more advantageous position. For shorter people, or particularly with shorter legs, a high bar position is maybe more advantageous, where you can keep your upper body in a more upright position. So before adding any significant weight, I like to make sure that I've gone through a number of warming up exercises for the hips, my knees, and practicing form for my upper body, engaging my core, and trying to protect my spine and lower back. As we get used to an exercise regimen, we have a tendency to get in a pattern of basically doing the same thing over and over in the same order. So I think it's a good idea to change things up. And so I'm going to start off with some hammer curls. Have a pair of dumbbells, standing upright, engaging my core, and my palms facing each other. There's many different varieties of curls. You can have your palms facing forward. And even have your palms facing down. Each one works the upper arm and shoulders in a slightly different way. Taking the same dumbbells, we can do an upright row. You want to keep your dumbbells closest to your body and bring them no higher than the upper chest. One more. And I'm going to hinge forward at my hips and just do kick back on one side. So my arm is brought up in a row position, and then I'm just straightening and bending my elbow. I'm going to switch other side. Okay. So we can set those down. And moving on to my first action interval, there's exercises which are isolation, such as the curl, working on a small group of muscles while most of the rest of the body stays still, versus full body exercises, which, like the squat, the deadlift, using almost all the muscles of the body. One way to do a full body exercise that's an action interval is a medicine ball slam. Medicine balls are useful in a number of different ways. There's all kinds of different weights for them. It's a combination of full body resistance and aerobic power. So I'm going to start with the medicine ball lifted overhead and slam it down, and do this for between 10 and 20 repetitions. So check your perceived exertion level, take a little break, and come right back. Moving on to my big lifts for the day. I'm going to start with squat, bench press, deadlift, and I start off with the bar Just an empty bar, about 45 pounds. Again, working on range of motion.
So to try and get to that low bar position, I roll the bar down. Towards resting on my scapula. Bring my hands together if I can. Breath, release, drop down, and power up. Since I'm exercising by myself, I like to have these safety bars in case I lose control of the weight. It'll drop on these and protect me. And I like to have a mirror so I wash my hands when I re-rack so I don't pinch them, which would be really devastating. I'm going to take an appropriate amount of rest between sets of these heavier lifts, maybe a minimum of 1 minute, maximum of 5. I like to base it on my breathing rate, how I'm feeling, do I feel I've recovered sufficiently, depending on the weight. Since that was just a 45-pound bar for the squats, I feel I can move on pretty quickly to a bench press. The inform is what I'm working on, not so much the heaviness of the weight. Making sure I'm bracing my core, contracting every muscle in my body. One coach said that a uncontracted muscle during a heavy lift is like an open valve, allowing energy to just dissipate. I don't know if it's true or not, but it's something to think about. So all the way from the bottom of my feet, legs, buttocks, core, shoulders, even my face muscles are contracted during the bench press. You want to have your elbows close to your body as you bring the weight down and not flared out to the side, which is hard on your shoulders. For the deadlift, I like to start off with a few repetitions of a Romanian deadlift where my knees are bent. I bring the weight up, but only lower it down to somewhere sort of mid-calf range, concentrating on extending from my hips and getting a good warm-up. Moving on to my working sets, I think it's a good idea to get a weightlifting belt. This one's about 4 inches wide. It can be leather or a sort of a solid cloth material, but it doesn't stretch. The idea behind the belt is it gives you something to brace against. So when you're contracting your core, if you don't have the belt, it's a little bit hard to get any feedback as to whether you're bracing effectively or not. The belt gives you that feedback and can improve your ability to brace. They have a buckle like this or a lever type device. I think the buckle's a little bit harder to use. I'm going to have to get in front of a mirror so I can see where the holes are. Apparently the lever device is a little bit easier, a little bit faster. If I didn't have as big a gut as I do, it would probably be easier to get the belt on. Then, doing the squat, there's so many things to remember. So for a working set, I don't have very much weight on, but I know I can manage. But in my mind, I'm thinking of all the different things I need to do, from contracting my core, contracting all my muscles, lowering slowly to proper depth, contracting my glutes, powering up, maintaining stability, pushing through the floor, all these different things. So many things, but that's why it's worth practicing many times instead of trying to push towards a maximum heavy lift. Put a pad on the bar this time because while it's rubbing against my upper back, I find that distracting. So at least for training, I use a pad, but at least once in a while, do a lift without a pad. As before, try and review in my mind what went well with the lift, what I forgot, what could be better to think about for next time. Moving on to a working set for bench press. I have the safety bars set up a little bit higher because moving a weight that I know I have some difficulty with, only for 2 repetitions, thinking about everything I need to do for bracing, contracting my muscles, keeping my buttocks tight against the bench, my head against the bench, not staring at the bar, so many things. Even though I've been working at this for months, I still have to review the entire protocol in my mind before I attempt it. Pushing my feet into the floor, I could go on and on and on. Again, I'm wearing a belt on this one to get used to the idea of bracing against the belt while I'm doing the lift. Again, as I complete the lift, I want to review what went on, what felt good, what didn't, what I did correctly, and either I can write these down in my notebook or put them into memory to keep working on these performance of these more significant lifts. Finally, a working set for the deadlift. Again, reviewing for perfect form, bracing, hand position, keeping my hips below my shoulders, blasting up off the floor to an upright position, very strong grip, and many other things. So working on form, see if we can get it right. For deadlift, I think each lift should be an isolated unit. Instead of trying to do repetitions, set the weight down, stand up, go through it again in your mind, and then repeat. Since the grip is so important in the deadlift, some coaches advise stopping at the upright position and holding that for 5 to 10 seconds to start to strengthen your grip at that critical point. As when learning any new activity, repetition and practice is important. Excessive repetition and practice can become detrimental, where you have a tendency to start cheating, slipping, not putting in maximal effort. So in an activity, resistance training, it's important to get a good workout, get the muscles working, getting the neuromuscular connection working, form, practice, but when you have completed a practice, to stop and allow your body to recover. Again, we get stronger and more fit during recovery after the damage of the activity. If we damage too much, or if we don't allow sufficient recovery, we're going to get overuse injuries, tendinitis, tendon ruptures. Believe me, I've experienced many of these things because I have a tendency to want to exercise every day. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to do more, you can always repeat or add additional exercises. I always finish up my workout by unloading my weights, doing a little bit of mobility work, and then trying to relax, enjoy a nice shower, and the rest of my day, and dream about days when I could wear a Speedo, even though nobody wanted me to, long gone now.